Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sharon Weston, and I'm a Customer Success Manager here at Blackbaud. I do want to let you know that we are recording the session. For those of you who are joining us, we do have you muted upon entry, so we will talk about how to make sure that you're connected with us via audio and chat in just a moment. But I do just want to say that I'm very excited to share details from the Charitable Giving Report with you. This report leverages the Blackbaud Index to look at a fundraising year in review. It's thanks to the largest analysis of overall and online giving data anywhere in the nonprofit sector. You can use these findings to benchmark your nonprofit's fundraising performance and to guide your fundraising strategies for the year and beyond. We will cover a lot of ground in this success session and look at a lot of numbers. If you have not already, I strongly encourage you to download the free report at blackbaudinstitute.com/charitablegiving, and you'll be able to go back and see these statistics at your convenience. As far as connecting to audio, before we begin, I just want to make sure that all of you are connected. The audio will be broadcast through your computer, so you'll want to make sure you're connected to headphones or speakers. And you'll follow the directions up here to connect to our audio conference if you have not already. And obviously, if you are hearing us now, you are good to go for our presentation today. Also, please note if you follow these directions and you see an option that says Leave Conference, you are already connected. I would also encourage you to be in contact with us as we go through this content. To interact with us, to ask us questions, you'll use the chat function that's in this WebEx meeting. Please choose to send your messages to all panelists. So both myself and Savannah, who is a part of this session, our moderator, will receive the message. Also, if you run into any technical issues, if you're having any problems with audio or anything along that sort, once again, please reach out to us using chat and pick all panelists. That is a private message to the webinar host. And once again, for those of you who are interested, the 2017 Charitable Giving Report, feel free to go ahead and download it while we're talking. That's going to be at Blackbaud Institute, all one word, blackbaudinstitute.com/charitablegiving. So you can go ahead and download it during this session and refer back to it as you will. Once again, for those of you who are just joining us, we are recording this session as well, and we'll make the recording available to you. I want to spend just a moment introducing myself. My name is Sharon Weston. I've been at Blackbaud for 10 years now. I am in Charleston, South Carolina at the Blackbaud World Headquarters, although I'm from Atlanta, Georgia originally. And I really am a big believer in being the change that I wish to see in this world. And so I volunteer, I donate, I'm a sustaining giver. I advocate and I support the causes that I'm really passionate about. When I'm not busy working, I do love to travel. In fact, I just recently got back from my very first trip to the Pacific Northwest that I went on with my husband. We were able to be child-free, which is really nice. I'm the mom of a 4-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter, and they're wonderful. And it's nice to have vacation time away from them. And as you can see from my picture, I recently crossed an item off my bucket list this year when I earned my scuba certification. Now, I mentioned that our moderator is Savannah Mazingo. Please, Savannah, please introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thanks, Sharon. Hi, everyone. I'm Savannah Mazingo. I've been with Blackbaud for 3 awesome years. I am based in our Charleston office, and I also grew up here, so Charleston local and native. I have really enjoyed working for Blackbaud because growing up in Charleston and definitely in the South and everywhere, but we definitely have those values of community that I absolutely love. And so I really like seeing how all of you guys are using your organizations and your missions to bring that community to your persons as well. As far as my adventures, I got married last year to that hairy man on the right. So we're about to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. Trey excited, but I have no idea what we're going to do. And then I just moved back actually to good old hot Charleston after living in Boston for a year. While I was in Boston, you get all locked up in the cold, so I got really addicted to spinning, which is my favorite way to get out all the energy that I have, but I just can't spin in Charleston because it is way too hot and I would absolutely melt.
Thank you so much, Savannah. I appreciate it. And please do keep any questions, comments, concerns coming in our chat feature. Savannah is going to be addressing those as we go through. And then questions regarding content, Savannah will be sharing with us, and we'll be getting answers as we go through this content as well. Taking a look at our agenda for the success session, we are going to take time to look at the Charitable Giving Report findings for overall and online giving trends. We will also break out results for Giving Tuesday and take a look at some of our key donor characteristics. As we get underway, I do want to mention that the Charitable Giving Report analyzes nearly $30 billion in total fundraising last year from more than 8,400 organizations, making it one of the most credible resources on fundraising performance in the social good community. It also includes online giving data from more than 5,700 organizations, totaling $3 billion in online fundraising for 2017. As I mentioned before, but in case you missed it, we will be recording this session, and we'll send out a copy of the recording to all registrants. So if for some reason you need to duck out a little bit early, don't worry, we'll get a copy of the recording to you. We will not be sending a copy of today's slides, but all of the numbers that you're going to see are from the 27 Charitable Giving Report, and that's why I suggest that you download a copy. If you haven't already, you can download it and you'll get all of these numbers that we're going to take a look at. And before we move on, I also want to thank the Blackbaud Institute for Philanthropic Impact for its help with this presentation. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. So some really good news right off the top. Overall giving grew 4.1% in 2017 compared to 2016. That is a much larger jump than the 1% increase we saw from 2015 to 2016. So really good news right off the top. We can thank a convergence of economic, political, technological, and philanthropic trends for boosting giving last year. A strong stock market, reactive giving in response to political issues or disasters, and the continued shift to digital donations all influenced giving. Chuck Longfield, Blackbaud's chief scientist, notes in the Charitable Giving Report that we're waiting to see what impact the new federal tax law will have on philanthropy. It's possible that a spike in giving in December was the result of donor uncertainty about tax incentives for giving. We may not get a clear picture on the impact of the new tax law until next year when we get a chance to review numbers for all of 2018. Now, breaking down giving trends by organization size, fundraising by small nonprofits, that's groups with an annual total fundraising less than $1 million a year, rose 4.2% last year compared to 2016. Medium-sized organizations, those raising between $1 million and $10 million, saw a 3.9% year-over-year increase. Large organizations, that's groups raising more than $10 million a year, grew their annual fundraising 4.3% last year compared to 2016. So positive numbers across all organization sizes. When we explore overall giving by sector, international affairs enjoyed the largest increase in year-over-year fundraising. You can see it jumped 19.2%, far bigger increase than any other sector. Environment and animal welfare organizations came in second with a 7.9% rise, and medical research groups increased their giving by 4.9%, the third area. Now, these trends reversed what we saw in 2016, when many of these organizations experienced declining or nearly flat fundraising. We did see drops in 2017 by arts and culture and K-12 education institutions, but those were very small, especially considering the pronounced growth that they had in 2016. Now, in case you're wondering, each organization is categorized based on the NTEE code. That's the National Taxonomy of Exempt Entities code that the organization self-reports on its IRS Form 990. Online giving in 2017 grew 12.1% year over year. So that double-digit growth actually spread across nonprofits of all sizes. Small nonprofits raising less than $1 million a year increased their online fundraising by 10.7%. Medium-sized groups experienced the largest increase, nearly 15% spike in online giving fundraising. And large organizations, those raising more than $10 million a year, boosted their online fundraising by 11% in 2017. When we look at online giving trends by sector, we see that faith-based groups celebrated the biggest jump, more than 18% year-over-year increase. And they were followed closely behind by environment and animal welfare groups, arts and culture, and public and society benefit organizations. They all showed very strong growth from 2016 to 2017. And unlike 2016, all sectors experienced growth last year. So once again, another really great sign. Medical research and international affairs, I also want to note that they rebounded from 2016 online giving declines. So it was really good for them to see some year-over-year growth. Online giving continues to grow as donors shift in age and demographics. So it's really critical for you to make your supporters' online donation experience as quick and easy as possible. You don't want them to hit roadblocks that could prevent them from completing a gift transaction. And even if your donors aren't making their gifts online, they are expecting to find up-to-date information about your mission and impact on your website. So to that end, I have a few questions for you to consider. First of all, when was the last time you updated your website? Is it mobile friendly? Does it have engaging content that shares the impact donations make on your mission? Are your donation forms easy to use? Are they mobile friendly? If you've put off investing time, thought, and resources into your website and your donation forms, now is the time to take action. Especially start thinking about it, start working on it. You do have time before we start to get into our end-of-year fundraising crunch. I do want to take just a quick break here and ask Savannah, do we have any questions from chat?
Hey, Sharon. Yeah, we have a few. One from Christine, thanks so much. We want to confirm, is this data only pulled from Blackbaud customers, or is this from all nonprofits?
So there are definitely there's some intricacies to it, so I would say refer to the Charitable Giving Report for the exact details on how the information is, how the different statistics are brought together, because there may also be some varieties looking at overall giving versus online giving in terms of audience size.
Awesome. And then another one we have here, this international affairs that we see, what does international affairs include?
That is a great question, and I do not know off the top of my head. What I will say is to take a look, if you wanted to look into that further, I would Google the NTEE codes. There's a lot of information on them out there. You can get details on the more specifics, and you also can look up different organizations' NTE codes. Sometimes they may self-report them on their website. GuideStar is another great resource to see how, if you have a certain organization that you're interested in learning what their NTEE code is, that can be a source.
Awesome.
All right, great. Well, and please do continue to put any questions that you have about the content in our chat. Would love hearing from you. We'll take another break in just a little while to answer some more questions. Now, Blackbaud's been measuring the growth of online giving for nearly 20 years, and a key metric is the percentage of total fundraising from online giving. This is one of those statistics that you can use to benchmark your online giving performance against your peers, either peers in your sector or nonprofits of a similar size. Last year, 7.6% of total fundraising came from online giving. This is a record amount, continuing 5 years of growth that we've seen. As a point of comparison, the U.S. Department of Commerce estimates that e-commerce sales in the third quarter of 2017 accounted for 9.1% of total sales. So even though the nonprofit sector lags broader retail trends, this continued shift by donors online is in line with what we're seeing with consumer behavior. I find it really interesting that when you analyze total fundraising from online giving by organization size, small nonprofits are the first group to surpass double digits. They receive nearly 14% of their donations from online giving. Medium groups receive 7.7% of their money from digital donations. And we actually see the smallest percentage from large organizations who get 5.6% of their fundraising from gifts made online. When we look at how much online giving makes up total fundraising at the sector level, we see a really large range here. Some sectors raise as much as nearly 12% from online gifts, while other sectors are half that. So on the larger end, medical research, public and society benefit, and international affairs organizations continue to see a larger percentage of total giving from online donations. And they're at nearly 12% for each of these sectors. 2017 saw significant growth in the online giving mix with higher ed, human services, and arts and culture nonprofits. And then at the other end, human services and healthcare have the lowest percentage of total fundraising from online giving at 6.5% and 5.9% respectively. In 2017, an estimated 21% of online transactions were made using mobile devices. So we've watched this statistic grow steadily the past few years, and rates are actually even higher when we talk about event registration and membership purchases. Last year was the peak for mobile transactions was in August. We had 23.3% of all online donations made then. And Blackbaud does continue to see this seasonality as percentages fluctuate throughout the year. So August was the peak, and the low was in January, with 18.1% of online transactions occurring on mobile devices. Every nonprofit organization really needs to understand that mobile-friendly is linked to being donor-friendly. It's no longer optional. If your organization lacks mobile-friendly websites, donation forms, and email messages, you will be at a distinct fundraising disadvantage. We really suggest that all of these should be used to maximize the giving experience for your supporters. The last thing you want to do is make it difficult for someone to give you a gift because the donor may not give you another chance. Let's turn our focus now to Giving Tuesday. Each year, this fundraising campaign grows, and Blackbaud processed nearly $61 million in U.S. online donations on Giving Tuesday 2017. We saw a big jump as online giving increased 28% on Giving Tuesday last year compared to the year before. and donors are increasingly making those donations on a mobile device, 26% last year. Blackbaud is a proud founding partner of Giving Tuesday, and we've analyzed more than $200 million in online donations made on Giving Tuesday since 2012. This represents the largest amount of Giving Tuesday data ever analyzed. It also includes transaction data from across more than 7,200 nonprofit organizations. Our analysis shows Giving Tuesday donations continue to shift from large nonprofits to medium and smaller sized organizations. In fact, back in 2012, large organizations received nearly 80% of Giving Tuesday revenue, but that dropped to 57% last year. We're seeing medium-sized groups really taking a bigger share of the pie. They've grown from 36% of the gifts, they've grown to now 36% of gifts in 2017. Small nonprofits, remember those are groups that are raising less than $1 million a year. They've really been stuck in the single digits since Giving Tuesday launched, so there's really room for improvement here. Now, before we start to move into some key donor statistics, Savannah, I see there's been a lot of comments coming into the chat. Do we have some questions that we want to take right now?
We do indeed, Sharon. One we have is a really good question. How do we go about analyzing online versus offline gifts? And then maybe how can we analyze how they donated, i.e. through mobile, desktop, etc.?
So I'm going to ask for a little bit of clarity. Are you asking for the person who asked that question, are you asking how can you analyze within your organization? And so I'll ask them if they don't mind putting some additional details in the how do you analyze in Razor's Edge reports. So as far as product-specific questions, I am going to table those here because we do want to keep the discussion at the higher level of looking at the content itself from the report. But I would say there are certainly, for your Blackbaud products, if you do have questions about reporting and analyzing, I am a huge fan of our Blackbaud product communities. There are the opportunities to look in past discussions, blog posts. There are success sessions and webinars that focus on specific product content. Like, for example, I know that there are a lot of reporting and data analysis sessions that are out there, for example, for Razor's Edge and RE and XP that are available. So I would suggest looking at things like the Blackbaud product communities. I'm always a big fan of our Blackbaud University classes. And then certainly with any data, regardless of what product you're using, your reporting capabilities really depend on how you are tracking data in your product. So if some clients, if you want to make sure you are clearly tracking what money's coming in offline versus online, so that you can then know how to group and report that way. So sorry to keep it high level, but those would definitely be the resources I would suggest to take a look for some other ideas. And as always, if you have questions that get more into nitty-gritty about configuration and how you may have your specific database set up so that you can accomplish certain requirements, certain reporting needs, we also do offer consulting retainers where you can work with a professional services product expert on how to achieve the exact specific goals that you're looking to do.
Awesome. Thanks, Sharon. And I think we have one more if you have the time.
Sure, we can go for it.
Awesome. So wondering if we have data on these numbers based on the number of gifts versus dollar amounts, particularly specifically for Giving Tuesday.
Not within the Charitable Giving Report. I have seen there is information in the new Giving USA report, which has recently been released on Giving Tuesday. I have not taken a full look at the report yet, so I'm not sure if it breaks it down by more granularly at the number of gifts versus the dollar amount. We will, Blackbaud will actually be hosting some future sessions diving into the Giving USA data. So if you keep an eye out for that, we'll certainly be promoting them both by sending out email, but also promoting those on our product communities. There is also a lot of really great data on the Giving Tuesday, the official Giving Tuesday site. If you have not checked it out before, I definitely suggest taking a look. I believe it's just givingtuesday.org, and there is a lot of information about past fundraising, past statistics that show the success. They also have really great information on case studies and tools for how you can build your Giving Tuesday program, including things like logos and playbooks and even sample messaging that you can use. So if you have not checked it out before, the Giving Tuesday, official Giving Tuesday site, once again, I believe it's givingtuesday.org, has a ton of great information there. And I would think they should have some more comprehensive research. Savannah, any other questions we want to take at this point in time?
That looks like all that we have at this time, Sharon. Thank you so much.
And Savannah, on top of everything, thank you, Savannah. Savannah did put a link from the givingtuesday.org website, which looks like it does have some details from the Giving USA report. So thank you, Savannah.
Oh, sure thing. Happy to help, everyone.
All right, so keep an eye out in chat for that. And once again, please just continue to send your questions and your comments. We really appreciate it. We'll have more time for questions in just a few minutes. So what I want to do now is just take a look at some key donor characteristics. And through its data science and its data assets, the Blackbaud Target Analytics is in a really unique position to provide this key insight into the U.S. nonprofit sector. These next few slides are going to provide some answers to some of the most frequently asked questions by fundraising and nonprofit professionals. Retention, such a big topic for all of us. And the numbers shown here really remind us why it's so critical to thoughtfully engage with your donors, because it's so critical to retain them. Donors who give across multiple years are much more likely to stick with you. And that's true whether their gifts are made offline or online. Sustainable growth for the U.S. nonprofit sector increasingly depends on embracing the best practices for donor engagement, retention, and stewardship. This also includes using data and analytics to drive informed decision-making. Looking at donation statistics, this will be across all sectors. They're in line with what we saw in the 2016 report, with one really big exception. The median donation amount for gifts above $1,000 zoomed from $1,200 in 2016 to $2,000 last year. When it comes to donor statistics, we did see a slight uptick in the average age of a U.S. donor from 62 in 2016 to 64 in 2017. Donors are also giving more gifts, 2 on average last year compared to 1.4 in 2016. I think it's always interesting to see how we compare to our peers. So if you're not already taking advantage of the free Blackbaud Index, I recommend checking it out. You can find it on by going to our website, blackbaud.com. You'll want to look under the Resources menu and then click on Blackbaud Index. We created the Blackbaud Index back in 2010 because economic conditions, natural disasters, market fluctuations, they make it extremely difficult for you to be able to make fundraising decisions informed by the latest donor behavior. So the Blackbaud Index gives you insight into how overall giving and online giving has been doing in the past few weeks. It is updated at the first of every month, and you can compare your fundraising performance to other nonprofits of a similar size or in your 2017 was full of shakeups like political divides, natural disasters, tense tax reform, and the increasing use of philanthropic vehicles like donor-advised funds. As Chuck Longfield, Blackbaud's chief scientist, remarked, 2017 was a year defined by change and uncertainty. For now, what is certain is that a focus on the fundamentals of fundraising and relationship building has never been more important. Organizations facing tight budgets and changing market conditions really must steward their donors and retain them with the knowledge that previous giving incentives like tax deductions may not be enough to keep donations coming in. As a reminder, you can download your free copy of the 2017 Charitable Giving Report at blackbaudinstitute.com/charitablegiving. We do have some more time for questions now, so if you haven't already, please enter any questions that you have into the chat. In case you did not hear me say it earlier, we will be making a copy of this session. We've been recording, and we'll be making a copy of this session available. We'll send it out to you via email. So please just let us know what questions you have, and if you have to drop off, thank you for joining us while you were able to. So Savannah, what do we have coming into the chat?
Hey Sharon, we don't have anything right at this moment, but I do think that it would be interesting for everybody to know if this charitable giving report includes statistics for anybody in Canada.
Thank you, because that is something that we do often get questions about. So the Charitable Giving Report statistics are focused on American fundraising, U.S. nonprofits. If you download the report, you will see there is a brief section where we talk about some Canadian statistics. But what I would also recommend is if you go to the blackbaudinstitute.com and you click on their resources, it's really great. You have an option to filter a couple of different ways, by year, by content type. You can also filter by content topic. And if you choose to filter and pick international, you will see content from the Blackbaud Institute that is related to international fundraising and some resources specific to Canadian fundraising. You also can access a version of the Blackbaud Index there for Canadian nonprofits. So if you're not familiar with that, it's a great resource. So once again, go to blackbaudinstitute.com. They have their own resources menu, and choose to filter under topic by international. I would strongly encourage you, if you haven't checked out the Blackbaud Institute, to please do so. There is a wealth of free information, research, and content that is designed specifically for nonprofit organizations to impact and help you do more good in the world. You can also access past content. So for example, if you're interested in looking more at comparison of 2016 data versus 2017 data for the Charitable Giving Report, you can find past years of the Charitable Giving Report. We have past content from previous years. And we are turning out, I swear, I feel like we've had new content just about once a month, new research that's come out. One that I find particularly fascinating, especially if you're interested in donor characteristics, is the Next Generation of Giving Report. It is our first update in about 5 years of the generational differences in fundraising and donors. It has some really interesting findings about how mature donors, those that the silent generation, how their impact is starting to wane, and how the impact of the millennials and Generation Z, as I think it refers to, the generation after the millennials, are starting to grow, and Generation X as well. Generation X, we're really starting to see some change and some growing impact. So anyway, just a plug for that content if you haven't checked it out already.
Awesome. Thanks, Sharon. And I think people might be itching to know. I know I sure am. Do we know when the 2018 report would become available?
The 2018 report, so the 2017 report initially was released, I think, in April, if I remember correctly. So it obviously takes some time to compile the data. I would anticipate that people are certainly going to be very interested to see the impact of the new federal tax law and the impact on 2018 giving. So I'm sure that we'll do everything we can to expedite the content, but I would say realistically not until March or April. We always want to make sure that it is available to you, so we'll certainly let you know via email. We also will prominently feature it on our website, so just keep an eye out.
Coolio.
I'm also going to take a look back because it may be that there are some folks who sent to me privately, some messages privately, so I'm just going to see if there's any, if I have not gotten to your question, let me just take a look and see if there's anything there. There were some questions about what groups are counted as public and society benefit. Savannah, I'm going to ask you if you don't mind taking a look within the Charitable Giving Report and seeing if it gives any, I don't believe that there's any specific examples that are listed within the report, but I'm going to ask if you don't mind taking a look and seeing if you can find a broader definition of that. I would say similar to what we did with the national affairs, that is a grouping that comes from NTEE, the National Taxonomy of Exempt Entities, which is a designation that is self-reported by nonprofit organizations on their IRS Form 990. So we don't, within the content of the report itself, we don't get into specific examples of what those may be. But if you do a Google search of NTEE, which is much easier than trying to type in National Taxonomy of Exempt Entities, but Google that and the public and society benefit, they will be able to give you a more detailed definition and possibly give some examples. There's also a question about, are there statistics for how fundraising was impacted in areas affected by Hurricane Harvey, the Houston area? That is not included in the Charitable Giving Report. We do, sorry about that if there's some audio issue there. I have not seen those numbers in the research that I have looked at, but I will say I have also not sought out that specific information. So that may be out there. What I have seen is that there are indications that fundraising did grow in September and in Q4 of 2017, and that is much of that is attributed to giving for natural disasters. Once again, I have not fully reviewed the Giving USA content, so I'm not sure if they speak to that in there, but that is certainly a great resource if you have access to that. But I'm sorry, I don't have those particular details. But once again, what we have seen is that there is an attribution of fundraising increases in September and in Q4 that believe that fundraising for natural disasters did play a role in that. For those of you who are curious about NTEE codes, so that is the National Taxonomy of Exempt Entities, and it is coding that nonprofits use to categorize themselves for the purpose of government documentation. For example, I know the organization self-reports it on its IRS Form 990. So it is a way that organizations sort of self-categorize them, how they categorize themselves. Sorry, getting a little tripped up on my tongue. I also have a question that I think that came in just to me, Savannah. I'm not sure if you saw this, but could the increase in the number of times a donor gave last year as well as the overall increase in giving, been artificially inflated because of the change in tax law late last year? I have seen content that has speculated that we saw an increase in fundraising, particularly in December, because people were unsure of what was going to be coming. I have not seen any research that says definitively one way or the other if that's the case, but there are certainly people who have suggested that. I think that will be one thing that will be very interesting to see in terms of comparing December 2017 to December 2018, and what kind of conclusions people draw from those numbers. So it will be interesting to track that in the future. So once again, please keep your questions coming. We're so excited to have the participation. If you do have any questions about the content or about the findings that we've talked about, once again, please do put them into the chat under all panelists. For those of you who may have to step away, we really do, once again, appreciate your time and your attention. Thank you so much for joining us, and I do hope you take advantage of viewing the report and all of the other really great reporting resources and research that's available on the Blackbaud Institute. So once again, that's blackbaudinstitute.com. If you go to the resources page, you'll be able to download the Charitable Giving Report for free, along with some other really great new and past research that can help inform your fundraising strategy. We have a question that came in about the research regarding two donations only given last year. So this would be the donor characteristics that we talked about. Were those 2 donations per organization? I think as I'm reading it. So is that statistic? So let me go back to the statistic. The statistic was that on average, an American donor made 2 charitable gifts. Average number of charitable gifts per U.S. donor. The number was 2, and was that 2 donations total, or was that 2 donations to one organization? I believe that is 2 donations total, but I am going to pull up the report just to double check that. So once again, if you do have any questions, I am happy to stay on the line as long as you would like, and I'm going to look up that information for you really quick on the donor statistics. All right, looking in the report, it does not specify, it does not give any further definitions on that, but the way that it reads is the average number of charitable gifts per U.S. donor. So the way I take that to mean is that the average donor made 2 charitable gifts total last year. So that could be 2 gifts to one organization, or it could be 2 gifts to 2 different organizations. Savannah, are there any questions that I may have missed?
I think we have them all, at least everything that has been submitted as of now.
Okay, wonderful. Well, once again, Savannah and I are happy to stay on the line. We'll give you all a few more minutes to see if we have anyone else who would like to send in any questions. If you didn't hear me say it, we are recording this success session, and we'll be sending the recording out to you. I will not be sharing the slides from the deck, but that is because all of the information that we've reviewed in terms of the numbers and the statistics, those are in the 2017 Charitable Giving Report. That report is available for free for you to download at the Blackbaud Institute. That is blackbaudinstitute.com. I will also once again just mention, going back in our slides, just once again the Blackbaud Index. I feel like it's this hidden treasure that not all of our clients are aware of or take advantage of. If you go to blackbaud.com, if you click on our resources menu and then look for Blackbaud Index and click on that, it will take you in. Once again, with the Blackbaud Index, this is just such an amazing tool. It's updated at the beginning of every month, and you can plug in some statistics about your organization's fundraising, and you're able to benchmark yourself against peers in your sector or peers of a similar size, and you can look at overall giving or online giving trends. So I do just want to mention that that is available to you in case you missed that. Question that came in regarding the report's cash only, right? So what I'm going to take to mean for that report would be an actual paid gift. So yes, this would not include pledges or any promises that are being made, but actual hard money that did come into the door. I will also say there is definitely, for those of you who are interested in terms of methodology, there are more details in the Charitable Giving Report about exactly how the methodology was done, how the statistics are brought together by our teams. Well, our chat is getting quiet, so I just want to say thank you once again for all of your time and your attention. I hope you found this information valuable. Certainly, we're always interested in hearing any feedback, so certainly let us know. But thank you so much for your time, and I hope